whack you in the face. Colin Quinn is making his way into the studio. I've been a fan of Colin's since high school when he was on Remote Control.
Yeah.
And he's done so much ever since. And now he's got a series of one-man shows that's been super successful. And he will be appearing at Ruth Eckerd Hall tonight. And I know he probably did not want to come in here today. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate him actually doing that.
We got the sing-along with Yalvin from Remote Control from Colin.
100%.
Yeah.
Man. 100%. Colin was the first person to do that, where he'd sing a song, stop, then you have to sing the next lyric correctly. And if he did, you were right, and he was terrible at it.
Yeah.
Did Colin, and I may have asked him this, and I don't remember, but I don't remember, seriously, did Colin ever bang any of the girls from Remote Control?
Oh, Kari Wurr.
Kari Wurr was the hot one.
Yeah.
Whatever
So was the other one. The other, she did some.
They were all pretty hot.
Yeah. She did some like B movies and stuff, and yeah, I don't think she did anything too popular.
She was hot. That show had Adam Sandler. Was Spade on there?
No, not that I know of.
It had Sandler. It had Ben Stiller.
Ken Ober.
Ken Ober was the host, yeah. Which Colin loves Ken Ober and says he was so funny. I never saw any of that. I never saw anything. I liked
Ken Ober. I thought he was good on there. I thought he did a good job.
He was good on that.
One of the other chicks that they had on there was not Daisy Fuentes, but it was a hot chick like her.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a bunch of, they went and they had that chick that used to be, that looked like the chick from the Cherry Pie video.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that
Bobby
girl?
Brown.
Bobby Brown. Oh, man. Anyway, Carmen, do you know who any of these people are?
No
this
clue.
Is all before your time?
Yes. I know
It
Colin
was
Quinn.
good stuff. What year were you born?
91.
Oh, man. So when I was graduating high school, you weren't even born yet.
Yeah,
Your dad was still locking girls in the basement.
Yes.
Ooh,
Never did that.
Oh, come sit over here. Listen to me. I know you don't want to be here. Not that you don't like me, but that you are tired and this is completely unnecessary for you. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
That's not why.
Oh, is it more?
What I don't like is a few things.
Okay. Grab that microphone so we can hear you. Yes.
I don't like a couple of things. One is I should have been informed immediately. Hey, you know what, Kyle? We're kind of close to the airport. Don't drive all the way to goddamn Clearwater, which is an hour away. And look, whose responsibility is that? Who knows?
Yeah.
Two, that's really the only one.
Okay. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for coming in here.
No, thank you.
I appreciate it.
I love seeing the house.
Oh, yeah.
I heard there's an alligator in the backyard. Lou tells me to look for an alligator in the backyard, so I'd like to see one.
Lou is a girl, even though she's got a guy's name. Lucinda. Yes. Did you know it was Lucinda?
No, I didn't.
Lucinda.
By the way, Lucinda Williams, who I love.
Yeah, Lou is a lady who I learned from the Calta and Kelly podcast is just such a huge fan of comedy. She's just a lover of comedy.
She's the greatest.
Yeah, she's the sweetest. She's the sweetest lady. She lives in Philadelphia. I believe we're in Pennsylvania somewhere up there.
Somewhere. She has a restaurant.
And is in a wheelchair, but not like a gross wheelchair. Like she's hot. No. Yeah, like she's good looking. Hot. Yeah. Like you think wheelchair and you're like, oh,
she's hot.
Smells a weird smell and all that. No, she's hot.
She's hot.
And she drives herself in the van. Like she's one of the most proactive people I've ever seen.
And she's very funny.
Yeah.
One time I was at a gig and I go, she's doing something. I said, yeah, because genetically I have such skinny legs. It really drives me crazy. She goes, yeah, tell me about unlucky genetics. I go,
how you been, man?
Good.
I have so many things. First of all, can I tell you this? This is a little weird. We've had a lot of celebrities in this show. You are still one of those people that I like. Last night I was driving home and I pulled up and I said to my wife, I can't believe Colin Quinn's going to be in our garage tomorrow.
Oh, my God.
Colin, geez. We were saying this as you were coming in. I've been watching you since I was in high school in Remote Control.
Yes.
Not that we're that much age difference, but you were more successful earlier on.
Well, yeah, I was older. I mean, I am older, but I mean, you were just some little Guido in Staten Island.
For 100%, yeah. Not little, but yes, you're right.
Going to Monsignor McClancy or Curtis.
You know what, though? Staten Island was the armpit of New York until Pete Davidson and Colin Jost and all that. Dude, we had Jost on the show a couple months ago, and I said to Jost, it's true. Him and Pete Davidson could not be more. They're the two opposites of Staten Island.
Right.
Pete is my neighborhood, and Colin is the kids that we never knew lived in Staten Island.
Were they like Tottenville or one of those neighborhoods?
No, Tottenville was where I went to. I lived in New York, but Tottenville was where I went to school.
Part, yeah.
Yeah, but Colin lived in Toad Hill.
Toad Hill.
Yes. Where I mean, I'm assuming, and then probably I think he said for high school. He went like to the city to go to high school.
Right.
You know?
That whole Staten Island thing when they go to the city.
The parents like, you will not go to school in this armpit. You will go into the city.
Well, although Big Paul lived in Toad Hill too when Colin was born. I mean, the head of the whole mob.
You want to know something funny? So I'll tell you where I live.
He's a gentleman.
Toad Hill is here.
Yeah.
And then below the hill is the Berry Homes projects where I lived.
Oh.
And my dentist office down the block was the room upstairs is where they bugged Paul in his house because you can get a direct shot into Toad Hill from where they were, and that's where it was. Yeah, my whole life has been entwined with mob things.
By the way, Colin Jost, Grimes Hill.
Oh, any of the hills. Any of the hills are fine in Staten Island.
Who even knew there were? Yeah. I mean, I heard of Dongan Hills.
Dongan Hills, yeah. Dongan Hills is where I lived. That's like where the Dongan Hills was below Toad Hill. So I was in the poor people section. He was in the rich people section.
Well, I told you all my Staten Island. I lived in Staten Island for 9 days on Sand Lane.
9 days on Sand Lane.
It was the middle of winter. My friend lived there. I go, yeah, I'll move in. I moved in. I go, how do you do every day? We had to commute.
Yeah.
You had to take the ferry. It was like 80.
And you had to get there from Sand Lane.
From Sand Lane.
Yeah.
Oh, it was hard.
Oh, that's insane.
But I told you, I would tell you that story about I met this girl from Staten Island. So I was like, I'll go to Staten Island. I was like 18, 19. Had no driver's license.
Right.
But I'd driven a couple of times. And my father goes, take the car. He was a nice guy. I take the car. We get hammered drunk. Go to the Snoopy's. It was called the Factory. It was down by South Beach.
Right.
It was like on the beach. It was a famous rock club back then. And then I drive her home. Miracle. All the way across the island. She lived in Tottenville.
Right. All the way on the other side. 15 miles away.
Yeah. And how many miles?
15, 12.
Yeah. And I'm driving. I got through no accident. I mean, I was not a driver. I was plastered drunk.
With no license.
No license. We pull into the house, a little white picket fence, Tottenville. And you just hear it. 3 a.m. I'm driving 5 miles an hour. Just so slow. And you hear. I go, what's that noise? I was knocking the whole picket fence down. The father came out. He goes, get the fuck. He sent me. I had to sleep for 3 hours because the train doesn't run at night.
Right.
So I had to sleep at the train station for 3 hours in the cold.
So funny.
Waiting for the train to start up.
Do you know I left a rental car waiting for the train? And got on the train. I was doing laundry at a laundromat in Tottenville, and I went to get in my rental car, and it didn't start. And I called them, and they said, all right, we'll send somebody out. An hour goes by. I'm still sitting in my car with my clean laundry. And finally, I just said, you know what? I called them back and said, I'm leaving it here. And they go, you're abandoning it? I go, yeah. And I just left it. Never heard a word from it. I got on the train, went to the city. Nobody. I wrecked a U-Haul one time, and I didn't have the insurance. And they said, this is going to come back on you. I was like, okay. Never heard anything.
Never heard anything.
That's why I never get that insurance now, because I've wrecked all these kinds of cars, and nobody ever comes after me.
Well, it's funny you said that, because I was in a rental car once, and a truck, a big 18-wheeler on 59th Street Bridge in Manhattan, right beforehand. I go, boy, this guy looks like he's so close. It almost looks like he's going to ram into my car. We're going 1 mile an hour in traffic. The same thing. And I handed it in. I never heard about it. Another word.
We rented a SUV in the city one time because I have kids now. And people double park and triple park in the city.
Yeah.
So I'm driving, and the guy's in my lane. I don't know what to do. So I go by, and my mirror clips his mirror, and my mirror falls off. And my wife goes, what are you going to do? I go, what am I going to do? I'm not going to go get it and bring it back. So I bring it back, and this fat black lady, she was so sweet, she comes out, and she looks at me, she goes, oh, baby, where your mirror at? I go, somewhere on 34th Street. And she goes, you're going to have to pay for that. I go, probably not. I had a pretty good track record. Never heard anything. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a pretty good deal, the rental cars. Colin Quinn has a show tonight at Ruth Eckerd Hall, which I think is going to be great. Now, you've been doing stand-up forever. And how hard is it to go into the one-man show? Like, how much more do you have to prepare?
But I mean, a one-man show is stand-up. I mean,
right.
It's still stand-up. It's just thematic a little bit. But in some ways, I mean, all I do is my stand-up after all these years. Basically, I take the most boring subjects that nobody wants to do jokes about. So I have the whole thing to myself.
What makes you I don't know anything about you in your free time. Like, what do you like to do? I know you turned me on to one of the worst books in the history of books.
Oh, no.
He's on Howard Stern, and he says, Confederacy of Duns has changed my life. I immediately ordered it on Amazon, read it, and changed my life, too. Wasted weeks of my time. Worst book ever.
Well, you can't just say, he's what drives you crazy. He called it the worst book instead of going, I didn't like it.
It's the worst book ever. I even got the audio book.
This is the whole problem with the world. It's filled with people saying, it's the worst because I didn't like it. Instead of going, I didn't like it. That's the problem. It's fine.
Okay, the book is okay. I didn't like it. Colin's the worst because he wasted all the time of my life.
Fair enough.
And you owe me like $23 between the audiobook and the textbook. Now, I thought maybe it's the reading that bores me, so I ordered the audiobook, and that was even worse.
Yeah, and I didn't imagine the audiobook being in.
In all fairness, I didn't get through a lot of it before I was like, all right, I give up.
Yeah, it's one of those books that it's. I feel like you have to read it at the right time in life, but that's how everybody says that about everything. It's like I'm like one of those people that goes when they go, I didn't like that show. They go, you got to wait for season 4. You're like, Jesus Christ! I got to watch 3 seasons.
Get me out in the first episode. I want to see a murder in the first 30
Yes,
seconds. I know.
I started watching 1923 on the plane. That was pretty good.
Which one is that? One of the Yellowstone ones?
Yeah.
Is that the one Harrison Ford?
Yes,
that's the good one. 1883, I didn't like. Too slow.
I loved
it. Was just too slow.
Episode of 1883, though.
Yeah. First one, everybody gets mangled, and
oh my God, it was good.
Yeah, so it's not bad. It's just slow.
Right.
The 23 one I thought was awesome, and then just kind of fell. It kind of just disappeared.
Yeah.
You had the one sexy guy chasing lions down and panthers in Africa, and then it just stopped.
Well, my mistake. I was on the plane, and for some reason it was episode 3, so I just click. And I started watching episode. I watched the whole episode 3 like it was the first one.
Right.
I was like, boy, they really expect you to do your, like you're supposed to kind of go along with that. I was like, all right. Thank God I watched 1883 and Yellowstone, so I know what's going on. And I realized it's episode 3. I'm an idiot.
You got to have a good handle on history to jump in at 3.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that. Where would you rank Bobby Kelly in the list of friends?
I mean,
who was before him?
I don't really rank my friends. I have so many friends that I can't rank people with that. You know what I mean?
You do?
I'm not like you guys with your best friend, your second best friend. I don't do that. Well, you know what I mean? As Bobby will be glad to tell you, I'm the mayor of New York. I have every street I go to, I have a friend.
Oh, I believe that.
You know what I mean?
I believe that because you seem like you just are a real humble dude.
I'm a friendly guy.
And everybody kind of knows you. You've been around so long. Everybody kind of, hey, there's Colin.
Well, I've been around exactly.
Yeah.
And as Bobby will tell you, I call him often when I go to the local coffee shop, whatever, and nothing drives Bobby crazier than me just bantering with whoever.
Strangers.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh boy, crazy day today, huh? We'll see what happens. And he just gets fuming, man, on the phone. But I secretly think he loves it. You know what I mean? I love Bobby.
To me, I would assume that you wouldn't like talking to people.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
I know. I do. For some reason, and it's plagued me my whole career. People go, oh, yeah, you seem like you're really like, you like to start trouble and you're unfriendly. I'm like, what? I'm the friendliest person in the world.
Yeah, I wouldn't say unfriendly, but you sometimes, like if I saw you sitting there, I'd be like, I'm not talking to Quinn. He just doesn't look like he wants to talk to me.
I talk to everybody.
Yeah.
I love talking to people.
I got Pete Davidson's butthole eyes, so it's a Staten Island thing. So I feel like people automatically think I'm in a bad mood. Like Paul Sorvino face. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know why people think that about me. I think it's my voice.
It's your voice, 100%.
It sounds irritable, you know?
Right, even if you're like, have a nice day. I know it's not sincere.
Yeah.
I don't mean for you to rank it. I was just curious outside of Bobby, like who you hang out with. I love
Bobby. I mean, Bobby, and I love in comedy, my oldest friends are those guys, you know?
Yeah. And I love how tight that group is.
And Keith.
All the Boston
Well, we're
guys.
not that close anymore. Well, I'm not from Boston, but I mean those guys.
No, but those Boston comedy scene guys, Keith and Bobby and...
Well, Keith's from Philly.
All right.
And Boss is from Jersey.
In my mind, they're all from...
Bobby's from Boston. You got one out of 9, so good job.
Dane, Aldo, Benny. I was going to pull all the names out that I got. Dane was supposed to be on the show today.
He was?
Yes.
What happened?
They were afraid of things that were... Yeah, his people... Dane's okay. His people are a little much. So.
They wouldn't let him come on?
They were worried about... They said...
you start too much...
Well, I did. Dane's been on the show a bunch of times, and every time he's on, I ask him a question that you probably wouldn't ask somebody.
Right.
But I feel like that Dane will answer those questions, and he has. So the very first time we had him on, Steve Burns said that Dane called what's that guy's name? The manager that they all had at the time, Barry Katz, and said that Steve Byrne was stealing his essence. And that sat in my heart and burnt like heartburn for all these years. And then the first time we had Dana on, I go, let me ask you a question. I go, you know when somebody gets famous and then you start hearing rumors about them? I go, I got a bunch of rumors I want to ask you. And he goes, okay. Yeah. I said, did you accuse another comic of stealing your essence? And he said, yes. And he goes, at the time he was doing my hand movements. I went, okay. And then I said, did you tell another comedian he wasn't allowed to wear a Boston Red Sox hat in the comedy club? And he said, oh, if Kyle Cease, he goes, Kyle Cease can't take a joke. And I was like, I didn't mention his name. I didn't say anything. And they knew exactly what we were talking about. So he's been good at like answering those things. So now we have a new respect for him. So last time he was on the show, I said, hey, can I ask you another real question? He goes, yeah. I go, what are you doing in your face? What's going on in your face? You got too much stuff in there. His head's starting to look like Frankenstein. And he said, you know what? I took HGH for a movie. And they didn't tell you that in addition to your muscles and everything growing, your cranium enlarges and your head gets bigger. And he's like, and I went, that's like the most honest answer. Even if he's lying, that's still a great answer.
Yeah, sure.
And that's the kind of guest you want on the show. So this time they said no questions about the wife, which I don't care about. And what was the other thing?
Pre-record it.
Oh, but they wanted no question about the wife? And his beef with Louis, which is not even his old news. So I was like, I don't care about any of that. And then they were like, well, can you pre-record it and can you do this? And we're like, Colin Quinn's coming in. We're fine.
CQ's coming in. Yeah. By the way, speaking of Bobby Kelly, Woe Hop restaurant. You know Woe Hop. I know Bobby's obsessed with trying to go to Woe Hop.
Trying to go?
He's never been
very
there.
Easy.
I know.
You can take a cab there.
Been there.
Mott Street.
But he likes to make it a ritual. You know what I mean? He wants it to be like I take him there or you take him, you know.
I'll happily take him there. So this is a good.
They have two of them now.
Yeah, but you only listen. There was an upstairs and a downstairs, and I've been to the upstairs. It's just not as good.
No, downstairs is better.
And
it's like Joe's Pizza. The one on Colmine is better.
Yeah, it's weird when good in Staten Island mob move. The mob guys used to order Woe Hop from a taxi like before Uber Eats. Like in the 80s, Woe Hop would show up and they would have a taxi just go pick it up and get it. That was I was very impressed with that.
What's that great pizza? Pat's, Joe and Pat. What's the place? It's in Toad Hill.
I don't know. I didn't get to eat in the good places. I've been gone since '89, so I don't know what's over there.
But it was there.
It seemed to me like any pizza place in Staten Island all served the same pizza. It was all pretty good.
It was all pretty good.
Yeah.
I just love the streets. Father Capodanno Boulevard. Mm-hmm. Like, that's great.
But how about the other end of the island had great kills?
Yeah.
And then fresh kills. Well, as a kid, I'd never even thought about that. These are intense names for streets.
And that's where they buried the bodies.
Yeah. I found out last night through Instagram where the Yankees came from. Do you know about that? You're a history guy.
New York Yankees?
The name Yankees.
No.
The Dutch settled in New York.
Right.
And the Dutch had slang words. One of them was Jan, and I forgot the other one. And when you put it together, it was Yankees. And that's where they came up with the Yankees.
Wow.
Isn't that something? I never knew that. Huge Yankee fan, found out last night.
And in my show, I actually referenced Yankee being a Dutch word in New York Story, and I still didn't know where it came from.
Yeah, so there you go.
Shows the kind of research. So Jan, but the only problem with that story, which would be a great story, especially for me, is you go, and Jan, which I don't know what that's supposed to mean, and you go, and the other one means something else. If you're going to research
I just forgot. I watched it quick last night.
Something happened there, then something else happened.
Something else.
Yeah. Do you know for the first 18 years of my life, I thought they named Staten Island because do you know the story there?
Staten.
Yeah, Staten Island.
Right.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, that's so great. And that was all lies.
What was?
Then nobody looked at it and said, is Staten Island? Like, is that an island? And then it became Staten Island. That's what they told us.
That sounds like an Italian joke.
Yeah,
it's a Dutch word too. Yeah.
That's a dad joke, and I fell for it for 20 years.
Well, that's what they used to call Staten Island, you know.
What?
Verrazano Bridge.
Yeah.
Guinea Gangplank, yeah.
The Guinea Gangplank, for sure.
So the Italians moved from Brooklyn to Staten Island, you know. Even when I was a kid, they were kind of doing that. Man.
My family lived on Elizabeth Street, where Scorsese's family lived.
Yes.
And the house that I grew up in when I moved out of the projects was a beach house. It was like 5 blocks away from the beach, which I could never swim in my teenage years because it was gross. It was cars in there.
I remember.
Yeah, but they built a bungalow. It was a beach bungalow. It was like their vacation spot. And then they moved out of the city and built another house on that property, and that's where we lived.
That's great.
Isn't that weird?
That's a real Italian movie. Yeah, everybody had their little, because they used to say the Italians wanted a place for tomato plants in the backyard. Yeah,
we had. People think when I went to summer camp, people were like, yeah, you're from New York. You don't even have trees in the city. And I'm like, trees? I got 8 fig trees in my backyard. I got 8 fig trees, tomatoes, apricots. I have all these things that nobody in the neighborhood had.
That's right.
It was crazy. Colin Quinn is here. He's going to be at Ruth Eckerd Hall tonight doing a show. Now, is this more one-man show type stuff? Is this thematical?
No, but I mean, it's not, but it's deals with all the usual stuff I like talking about.
Colin's great. You are the guy like, this is something Bobby and I talk about. All women are strangely attracted to you. Bobby's wife wants to bang you, I guarantee you.
Nice.
Yeah. No, seriously, do you feel that? Do you feel that girls there's something about you that girls are very attracted to?
No.
I think it's your self-confidence.
Yeah, I think it's got to be.
Yeah. Well, you're a handsome guy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you're a handsome guy, and the self-confidence I think goes a long way.
I was a 7. Now I'm God knows what. But yeah, I think confidence. Girls, it's so funny because in my act over the years, I used to say girls love confidence just casually in several incarnations over the course of my career.
Right.
And every time girls in the crowd go, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So all you guys listen out there, that's the most important thing is that self-confidence.
Have you met my wife?
I don't think so.
It is a pure sign of confidence will get you any girl you want. I have a hot wife, and I've got nothing. You're a 7. I'm a 4 falling fast.
I mean? But that's confidence makes because people, and I get it now. At the time, because we're guys, we're like, just like look. But when you look back, you're like, confident people keep you in a good mood.
Yeah.
When you're like, women think in the big picture, like, I'm going to be stuck in a house with this guy for 50 years. Right. I don't want somebody who's got like that negative energy who's like, I don't know what to do. Like, they're not thinking about the looks. They're thinking about like somebody who can wake up and be like, all right, let's do something.
Take it by the balls and run with it. Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that. Can we rewind it a little bit? I got questions for you.
Sure.
Remote control.
Right.
How do you get involved in that? They just do a call or somebody says you'd be good for the show?
Speaking of confidence, I'll give you, it's beyond confidence. You might call it narcissistic delusion, but I'm doing comedy. I'm doing all right, but I'm not really but I'm big with the comedians, but not with the audiences. But I have this voice only with cigarettes. So I sound like, I'm from Staten Island.
Like you got the trach.
Yeah. And then they go, hey, we want you to be the announcer on remote control. And I'm going, the announcer? I don't mean for the host. But so I was like, yeah, I guess nothing else is going on. This is all in my mind. I literally have nothing going on, but you think I'm I'm negotiating.
Right. Just like you don't have rent.
Yeah, like a cocky idiot. And then so they make us read copy. So the only thing I knew about showbiz, because I had done one commercial for Burger King. And I made $4,000, which was incredible.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
It ran a lot of times, but still $4,000, 1987.
Right, that's a lot.
So I'm like, the copy will be included. I go, how much I get paid to read these commercials? Suzuki, all this stuff. They go, nothing extra. It's just part of your job. I have the worst attitude.
Yeah.
So I'm reading the copy. They literally almost fired me. I'm going, Suzuki. Yeah, you got to get it. Motorola. With the worst attitude. So the advertising people are calling them up going, this guy's disrespecting our products. They go, stop doing that. But I'm so angry because I think I know, like, they're supposed to be paying. They're not.
Right.
But, it's part of but in my mind, I'm like, that's it. So what happened was all the kids watching the show loved the fact, and then the girl with me starts reading it, making fun of it too.
Right.
All the kids love the fact that we disrespect the brand.
Doing terrible reads.
They're 15, 16, so they love that we're going against the grain.
Right.
We're not trying to be like thirsty, like, hey, Motorola guys, it's all good. We're like bad-mouthing them. So it became hugely popular, so they let it slide. They were going to fire me for
Really?
that. Yeah.
And then did they advertise accept it? They realized that
I guess they must have,
so funny.
But isn't that funny? Because the kids clicked with the show. One of the reasons they clicked was we didn't stop in the middle of this sarcastic show and start being sincere.
Right.
Going, hey,
going the same
seriously,
way.
The products,
Yeah.
So I guess they liked the fact that we had a bad attitude too.
So you speak highly of Ken Ober, and I thought he was good on that show, but you say he was funny too. I didn't know him.
Ken Ober. Well, first of all, when you really look at running that show, having to be a host of a show, and still having to be funny, but still having to run the show with all these moving parts.
Right.
He was really good at it. I mean, when I look back, I go, even at the time, I was like, it was impressive. But we would do shows. He was a stand-up before that.
Yeah, and he was funny stand-up?
He was so,
really?
Mostly crowd work. He was ahead of his time. He'd be big today.
Yeah. He'd be the Matt Rife of today.
Yes.
Right.
He was just crowd work guy, but he was so quick at crowd work.
Oh, that's interesting.
But he loved to. I told you I don't know if I know I've told Bobby this, but one of the great things about Kenny was he would like one time I would keep trying to tell him like we've got to get serious and get stand up and this is not going the way we want, artistically. And he goes, listen to me, I don't care. I go, what? He goes, I'm in show business to meet girls, to get free tickets to things. They fly me places. I eat and I drink I go to parties. It was that's all I care about. He said it to me. It was one of the funniest.
He's living the life.
He was like, "That's it. That's what I'm here for."
Yeah, he didn't know it, and he wasn't there for the artistic integrity. Yeah,
Yet he was he was quick and creative.
Right.
But he was like, "I don't care," and that's what I loved about him. Like
that's so funny.
And he knew that early. He wasn't like trying to be like, "Yeah, we'll get to it." He didn't pay me lip service. He goes, I don't care. And I was laughing so hard.
I remember we were trying to name all the girls. Can you remember the girls?
Oh, sure. I mean, you had, first was Marisol.
Marisol. I thought she was the hottest.
What about Kari?
Well, Kari was something else, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one of those girls did you hook up with?
Nobody. I mean, me and Kari made out one time. Here's what I love about Kari. You want to talk about a team player? One time she goes, everybody used to say we were banging all the time. And then
because she was all over you on TV.
Yeah, because that was her part.
Right.
But then I go, one time I go, everybody says we banged, I keep trying to tell them no. She goes, you can tell them, don't worry about it. Nice. She was great.
Carry on with that.
And then I saw her at Kenny's funeral. And she was, 41 or 42 by then.
Still looking good.
Oh my God.
Really?
No, it was insane how good she looked. It was crazy.
Wow.
She was really cool. All those girls were really nice. You know what I mean? Like they all had like.
Well, they knew their bit. They knew their part. So
yeah. And they were just cool. Like they had to be cool because if they weren't cool, it wouldn't have worked. Like that show was so insane.
Right.
Life was so insane.
It wasn't about like the bitchy hot girl. It was the fun girl.
They were all hot, but they were exactly. They were all, and we'd go to these crazy parties. You know what I mean? Everybody had their
conflicts. Must have been a great life.
It was the only time in life where you look at something and go, oh, behind the scenes, not like it was like that. Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
We were friends with. It was like a movable party because I tell people all the time, like at that time, every place MTV went, we weren't going for a serious, in-depth study.
Right.
We were going, and the party was waiting for us.
Yeah.
When MTV gets here, we're going to start the party. So it didn't matter if you were in the smallest town or the biggest city. Everybody there was young kids that wanted to party.
Yeah.
So it was always
how old
fun.
were you at the time? 20s?
28, 29. Yeah.
How great is that?
It was great.
Yeah. Marisol, Kari, then Bobby? Oh, Susan, I don't remember.
No, Bobby Brown, you mean?
Yeah.
I knew Bobby Brown. I actually lived in a building right around the end of MTV with Bobby Brown, for Cherry Pie, Katie Lane. Bobby Brown, who I knew very well, and Erin Everly, who was Axel's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And Slash's girlfriend, his girl Megan, who was also amazing. And I was there with like...
You and all the hot broads.
Oh, me and all and literally Axel, at the height of his fame, it was like 1990. And he'd be calling, Colin, what's Erin doing right now? She won't talk to me. I go, she's doing laundry, but I'll tell her you called. You called me to ask like...
Insecure Axl Rose was calling you for updates on his girlfriend?
Well, he was such a down-to-earth guy. He was an Indiana guy.
Yeah.
So that was his girlfriend. No, he wasn't insecure.
Yeah.
They were fighting or something at the time.
That's so funny.
No, he was just like, hey, listen, he was a cool guy. He was like a real... This is the height of his fame, but he's like a real down-to-earth guy.
Right.
You're talking to him, and you're like...
In a million years, I would have never guessed Axl Rose was a down-to-earth guy. Like Slash is.
Especially at that time.
Really? That's crazy.
Right? He was like... Yeah. He was this controversial, like... He was a good dude. He was like a solid guy,
That's so funny. So forget the girls. Then you have... Like, the first time I ever saw Sandler was on that show.
Yeah.
Stud Boy.
Yeah.
Canteen guy. Right? Oh, we got Leary. That was the other one I forgot.
And Leary. Well, Canteen, I knew the both of them before that.
Yeah.
We were all friends. Everybody knew each other. But Sandler came in with those characters. you want to talk about ahead of its time. Those characters were like so like mocking doing characters.
Yeah. Canteen Boy was...
Canteen Boy was idiotic.
Yeah.
And then he did this other boy called Bossy Boy. He was just making up these stupid characters. Bossy Boy. He got makeup to put like orange dots on his face, like he had freckles or acne, I'm not sure. And he would just walk in with a fast food uniform and just start being an asshole. Just yelling at
everybody.
Bossy Boy.
He had to be young too. He had to be such
He
a
was really
kid,
young.
right?
He was 19 or 20.
And was Stiller on there? I remember seeing Stiller.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
well,
Stiller and Leary did like a Starsky and Hutch thing, didn't they?
Well, oh, no.
Who was that?
Stiller did like this whole U2 thing, which was very funny.
Okay.
But that was at MTV. He did a lot of MTV stuff with us.
Yeah, I remember.
But I mean, it was Leary. Leary is funny. That's my brother. We would just fight all the time. And my cousin. We were just getting fights on the show and just start fighting each other.
Oh, I love Leary. I think he's
Didn't
great.
he do a Keith Richards character or something on there?
Oh, yeah. He did Keith Richards and Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
He
funny.
did to get Andy Warhol.
That's so funny. Remote
Leary's
control.
the guy.
I'm surprised they didn't try to do that more. They didn't try to bring it back. Or maybe they did and I didn't notice.
I don't think they did.
Yeah.
Well, because it was groundbreaking at the time, but then every show was like it.
Yeah,
so if it
true.
came out now, it wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah.
But every show tried to be ironic after that. But like the reason it was so entertaining was not only that was a great idea for a show with all these, but also me and Kenny was so disrespectful of the process.
Yeah.
Because we were like, we shouldn't be doing this. We're comedian, so that it made it work.
Yeah.
It hit with kids because we really were not trying to be sincere for 1 second.
Well,
kids loved it. Right?
It was groundbreaking.
You guys
it really
did,
was. Yeah, we really did.
High school kids like that ironic, like, we don't give a damn because we didn't give a damn.
When you did sing along with Colin and it was so awful.
Yeah.
And I just thought that nobody did awful, nobody.
Right.
Yeah, and to see you do that, I was like, this he gets it, man. That's funny.
Totally awful. And the commercial reads were awful. And Kenny would just be the host, but he'd be the host. That's why I always say Kenny was so good. He'd be the host.
Yeah. He could be a straight guy.
He did
could
both, but he'd also be making fun of it the whole time.
Right.
And that was like hard,
That's so funny. I was a huge stand-up fan at that age. I used to tape Letterman at night so I could watch it the next day. And do you remember Bill Boggs?
Yeah, of course.
Bill Boggs
I was on Night Flight.
Oh, were you really?
Oh, yeah.
That was the first time I ever saw Saget. And
Yes.
I watched that 1,000 times. I could still today remember he did songs. I remember the words to the songs. It was really, at the time, you were getting Joan Rivers, you were getting Buddy Hackett, you were getting all these big time, and then Eddie Murphy. Yes. But it was shows like that brought out the real comedians. And
Night
you got
Flight,
to see
Bill
this guy,
Boggs.
Night Flight, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was great.
That was my first show.
When what did you do Caroline's? What did you host?
I hosted Caroline's after MTV.
Yeah. Then that's another thing. Once those shows got on TV, you got to really see some of the great comedies. When I was a kid, I didn't know about comedy clubs except for Dangerfields because everybody went there on their prom. That was the thing. You go to Dangerfields.
That's right.
And I didn't even get to do that because Dangerfields, I guess, was on the tail end at that time, and we found a couple of bars that would actually service alcohol, so we were good there.
Yeah, you went to Grandpa's and said, I don't know.
Grandpa's opened the year that I moved in '89.
They did, yeah.
So, and I remember my father called me up one day. My father goes, I went to Grandpa's to go see a comedian. I don't even know who it was. And they got up there and they said, ladies and gentlemen, this guy is not here tonight. Please welcome Andrew Dice Clay in '89.
Wow.
My dad was through the roof. That was his hero. Everybody
Especially
loved
in
Dice.
89. He was on top of the world.
And imagine seeing Dice in a small club like that, working on material. Oh,
At that
time.
That's insane.
Dice bugs me because he's so happy where he is right now that we can't get him to come on the show. He doesn't want to get up early. He's like an old grandfather now. But the thing I want to talk to Dice about the most is the day the laughter died was I don't know if a lot of people know that he had a double album of some of the most horrible, and I mean horrible, like it was very funny, but it was people walking out of his show. He was so ahead of its time, and it was groundbreaking because people can do that after Dice got in trouble for it. He was the first one to go in, do all these bad things, and then make it easy for other people to do that.
Sure. And I still remember him on stage. He had like a bandana, right, on his head at the time.
Did he? I don't even remember. Oh, like one of those big ones.
And he goes, in the middle of the special, he just looks at these two guys up front like this, and he goes, "Look at these two jerk offs." And they go, "What?" They go, "We love you, Dice." He goes, "We love you, Dice. Jerk offs."
It's awesome. Colin Quinn is
let me just
here.
tell you the best, the quintessential Dice joke. Every joke should have been like this. This is Dice to the core.
Yeah.
When he goes, "I'm hammering away at this girl, banging away," and then she turns her head. She goes, "Dice, what's the hurry? What do you got, a bus to catch?" "No, you do."
He was so funny, man. This stuff was so insane. You said one of the best insults to me ever one time on the podcast. I asked you if you watched, what was the name of the Godfather show that they did with Miles Teller, The Offer? I go, "Colin, you watching The Offer yet?" And you go, "No." And nothing's worse than watching a show about the Godfather with the guy from Staten Island. You're so annoying. Hey, look, there's this, that.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was all shot there.
It was, I know.
I ended up watching The Offer, by the way.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
I wasn't enthusiastic.
I regret that I liked it. But
I thought it was great, man. I mean, I love that movie. I'm so, like everybody else, obsessed with those movies. To see that stuff was awesome.
But the problem was Al Ruddy, like, because he made it.
Right.
So anytime you make anything from anybody's memory, it's always like, and Al Ruddy was the point man on everything.
Yeah.
And he's sitting down having dinner with Joe Colombo. I mean, maybe he did, but I mean, it's kind of hard to,
I didn't know the Joe Colombo stuff, and I had to go first check with my dad. I go, "Is this really?" "Oh, yeah." And then I went and found it all on YouTube.
But here's what's weird about that show. So they kept showing the Paramount Gates.
Yeah.
Right? The whole show, they keep showing Paramount Gates. So the whole reason why they let them, Columbus, why they wanted to deal with them was because some guys who apparently weren't mob connected but thought they were mob, when The Godfather, when they said they were making the movie, blew up the Paramount Gates.
Oh, really?
Right at the beginning of all that, after The Godfather was announced to be a movie, that's the first thing that happened.
Oh, I didn't
And to
know
not
that.
put that in the show was insane to me.
Why? I wonder why.
They kept showing the gates. I was like, "Oh,
yeah, here it comes."
Isn't that weird?
That is very weird.
I mean, that was a well-known. It was.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
That's
man.
what started the whole thing. Where they're like, "We better deal with the mob. These guys are serious."
Yeah.
They blew up the Paramount Gates.
Holy cow! I didn't. Now I got to go look that up too.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know why.
That house, Toad Hill.
Toad Hill.
Toad Hill.
By the way, the other house, I ripped my Achilles. I was working on a Sandler movie, and they're playing basketball, and they go, "You gonna play?" It was getting dark. And I was like, "I don't know." And Sandler goes, "You don't have to play if you don't want to." I was like, no, I want to. I had sneakers, but I was tired. I popped my Achilles. But where we're shooting is the house where Jack Waltz wakes up with a horse's head in the bed.
Oh, and you're in California.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks exactly the same.
Yeah, I've seen when I went there when I was a kid, when they do one of those neighbor tours or whatever it is.
Yeah, and the guy that owned it at the time, he sold it since, he had 6 guys in black suits. Obviously carrying like heavy artillery.
Right.
That were bodyguards. It's a big property.
Yeah.
Like there's trees, and it's right off Sunset Boulevard. Now you would never see a house like that close to Sunset Boulevard.
Right.
It's right off it.
What are you doing? What movie did you do there?
I can't.
That's what I want to have. So many movies, I can't remember which one.
I can't remember. It was one of Sandler's movies, but it was I can't remember the name of it. But
Were you in?
Part. I was in some big part.
Were you in the movie? I think I remember this with the Fat Boys.
No, not the Fat Boys.
No, was that?
I was in Who's the Man?
Who's the Man?
All the other rappers were in that. Maybe the Fat Boys. I don't think the Fat Boys were in it, but everybody else was in it.
That's right.
Everybody was in that one. They were all in there. He's in the new school.
Yeah, all those guys.
All those guys from the early days, Busta Rhymes and Wu-Tang before
that's my wife's
Wu-Tang,
music. Yeah. Busta Rhymes and Wu-Tang. School.
No, they were all in that movie, yeah.
Colin Quinn is here. He's going to be at Ruth Eckerd Hall tonight. You can get tickets at rutheckerdhall.com. If there's any left, you can check it out there and go see him. I say this when I meant this earlier about you coming here today. I thought back, and I think I told you this before, but in fact, I'm sure I did, but the first time you had, after MTV, after Remote Control, you had the Colin Quinn talk show.
On MTV?
On MTV.
Oh,
it was just you in a black background.
Yes.
It was fantastic.
Oh,
And then you would let people call in to the show.
yeah.
And I had to go to a payphone to try and call in because my mother didn't have long distance on the phone. And I was trying to call into the show because you had Jimmy Burke on.
Yes.
Who worked, his mother worked with my mother in the travel agency in Staten Island. So I'm watching Colin, and there's a guy I know who's on, who is an actor, who I think he was in Disorderlies or one of those movies.
Yeah, no, he was in Who's the Man too.
Who's the Man, yeah. And I'm like, I know this guy. I got to call in. And I'm at the payphone trying to dial my little fat fingers frantically to get through. Meanwhile, the best was the guy, this Hispanic guy gets through. And I don't know if it's real or not, but he's like, hey, Colin, this, that, and the other thing. And this guy, you want to talk about confidence. This guy, and then you're like laughing and you're into the call. And the guy goes, hey, Colin, I got to go. The Domino's guy's here. And I thought, now as I got older, I thought maybe these are fake calls. I don't know.
I don't remember that call. I don't remember the guy's call, but of course I remember doing the show with Jimmy Burke.
Jimmy Burke, and then one day I asked you, I'm like, how do you know Jimmy Burke? And you're like, yeah, he used to roller skate and play softball in Central Park all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And then they gave me another show on MTV that was also a failure. It was, and it was a sports show. And one time Charles Barkley canceled on us at the last minute because I had done the sing with Charles Barkley. It was really funny. So he cancels. So my cousin comes in, Brendan from Bay Ridge.
Right.
And we're talking. We're bouncing a basketball back and forth. I go, so Charles, he goes, yeah. I go, how's Philadelphia? Oh, I love Philadelphia. Philadelphia's fantastic. Liberty Valley got everything over there. It's fantastic. And he just answered all the questions.
As Charles Barkley.
It was so funny.
Is your whole family funny?
No, but a lot of them are funny.
Like I always I have this and everybody's like, oh, I love your show. It's so funny. My brother's funnier than I am. My all my friends from Staten Island are hilarious. Like they all make me laugh. I feel like that's just the thing.
Yeah, well, I feel like when I'm at family get-togethers, everybody is kind of they always have something funny to say that you're like, yeah, these people are really funny.
Yeah.
You're right.
You know where you get it from. You know?
Yeah.
It's so funny.
But my mother was so funny because she would go, I'm not funny. Like she was somebody, and when people try to be funny in front of her, except for me.
Right.
When somebody would try to be like funny to her, she'd just stare at them. And that was, because she wasn't
be
funny.
Funnier, yeah.
But she knew she wasn't funny.
Right.
She goes, I'm not funny. So if I don't laugh at you, and she was trying to tell them, you're not funny either. So stop trying to make me laugh.
Carmen, just hold off. We'll probably be a little late today, so I'll let you know when we're done, okay?
Okay.
All right. So, wasn't that? Oh, my grandmother. Yeah. I used to call my grandmother on the air. Like, you ever hear Howard when he called his mother?
Yes.
But I call my grandmother, not to copy that, but she was the most genuine person. Like, if I call my mother would be like, oh, we're on the radio? And my dad gets into this, hey, what's up, we're on the radio? You know, I don't want character. I want the real.
Somebody's just.
So I call my grandma and I'd be like, Gram, I was just thinking about this the other day. Out of all the cousins I have and all the people in the family, who's gay? Because one of us, by just statistics, has to be gay. And she would get so mad. She'd be like, Michael, why would you ask me this on the radio? And she'd be legitimately mad at me. And there was nothing better than that.
No.
There was nothing better than real family stuff.
It's real stuff like that. So that's why when like the really good actors, they're so funny because they're not doing.
Right.
Like they would say, acting is not acting, which is like such a weird contradiction. But the real good ones cut through trying to be anything.
Right.
And they just get into that organic moment.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen all the time. And then when they become big, they get less and less. But that real moment, people used to always say Robert Duvall was like the one guy where you're like, this guy's not, you couldn't catch him acting.
Yeah.
And that's what they're trying to get to, that space where your grandmother was at naturally.
Duvall is the best of that. Duvall's confusion when he answers it.
And I remember Richie Sambora right after it, and he goes, hey, something like, you didn't say shout out. Whatever people said in those days. Instead of shout out. It was before the term shout out existed. Like, hey.
That's so funny.
You throw me a thing. Something.
You, Guns N' Roses, Bon Jovi, Sam Kinison, that must have been the best time ever.
Yeah, I mean, it was the best. Sam Kinison was I was so funny. I mean, I loved Sam Kinison because he was so funny. I didn't even know him that well, but he was, that's still a mystery to me. Like, what it was? They said he didn't play the game. And I feel like that was what messed him up. Like, they want him to be in this, they wanted him and Roseanne to be in this movie about a caveman and his wife or an igloo guy, whatever those, an Iceman. And he turned it down, or they both were like just too hard.
Yeah.
They were comedians. So they're like, we'll do what we want. We'll tell you what's funny.
Yeah. And it worked out for Roseanne.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, we didn't even get to talk about it. I had so many questions. I'll save it for next time, Saturday Night Live. The first time I had you on the air was on sports radio doing a talk show. And we called Comedy Central, and we booked you through Comedy Central. And I asked you, I go, hey, I went to Saturday Night Live one time, and when you were doing the news, and there was a girl who was like a stage manager or something, and she had black hair and big boobs, and she was shot, and you were like, oh, yeah, that's Jen. I don't know if that was her name, but she was so hot. And you go, if I ever thought there'd be a day where I'd be talking about the boobs on the girl from Saturday Night Live, I watched her. She was smoking hot, and she was running around. She kept coming over to you, and I was like, one day I'm going to have Quinn on the air, and I'm going to ask him about this girl. Well,
not only is she beautiful, but her first job where I met her was remote control. Oh, she was on remote control, too. And then when she got on SNL, I was like, oh, my God, Jenna, I can't believe it. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, Jenna, she's beautiful, yeah.
We talked about this earlier this morning. Lorne Michaels, I don't know him. I don't know anything about him. Met him once or twice.
Lorne, yeah.
Burt Kreischer. We were talking about Nate Bargatze and what a big rating they had with having him on the show.
Did they have a big rating?
Yeah. 4.9 million people watched. Did you watch the show by any chance?
I watched the monologue and a couple of the sketches.
So I would say that no offense to Saturday Night Live. You watch the Saturday Night Live a whole hour and a half. Yeah. You had 3 good things that you take away from the show.
Right.
Most of it, I think, is Colin Jost and Michael Che. Yeah. This one, I would say, probably had 8 out of 10 that were the sketches were funny. Yeah. The monologue was great. The musical guest was Foo Fighters. Like, there was nothing that could go wrong on the show.
Song that they did,
the parody by the lake was good. Right. Everything they did on this show, there was maybe 2 flunkers. The rest of it was awesome. And we were saying this morning that with Nate selling out arenas and all that, Burt is ahead of Nate.
Yes.
He's got a movie. He's selling out stadiums.
Yes.
He's doing all this stuff. But would Burt ever make it as a host on Saturday Night Live, or is Lorne Michaels look at a guy like takes his shirt off and goes, he's got like a gimmick? You know what I mean?
No, I don't. I think he would do it. I mean, what do I know? I haven't seen Lorne Michaels.
I know. I'm just trying to think of the mentality of the show.
I'm saying I think they would want to
have that size of a crowd. Yeah,
and Burt would be great on the show.
We just got off the Burt cruise.
3,000
people who just worship Burt, and he's the new Jimmy Buffett. Is what he is.
Yes.
They're all just lovely people who want to drink and have a good time. They're not as obnoxious as you think they would be. They want to wear dumb shirts and Speedos and drink their faces off.
That's great.
And listen to good music.
And you on the cruise is great.
I was on the cruise in my Michael Corleone room. I had 3 bedrooms in my cabin. Me and Bert had the same room next to each other. And I was like, I'm not leaving this room. I'm not going out there with those peasants. Are you kidding me? I'm just going to watch them from my tower, and that's all I'm doing.
But that's great.
It was great. We had a ball.
Burt would be a great host.
I think so. And then, but Calvin pointed out, he's going to break down laughing in every sketch.
Every sketch.
That would be annoying.
Yeah. Colin, I love you, man. I'm so happy you came in here. This means a lot to me, man. Ruth Eckerd Hall tonight. Go to rutheckerdhall.com to get tickets and go see the great Colin Quinn. We got to go because now we're super late. Carmen, thank you.
No problem.
All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Check us on Instagram at The Mike Calta Show. And tomorrow at 10 o'clock, tickets for the Calta Christmas extravaganza go on sale.
What?
With the lovely Lynn Coplitz.
Whoa.
You can't go wrong with that.
She's hilarious.
She's the best.
Oh, my God.
She has told more of you guys to shut your face in the studio than ever. Not afraid of anybody. She's the best.
She's really funny.
Have a great day. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.